Hey everyone. Happy weekend. Hope you're having a great weekend. I just wanted to take a few minutes here to do a quick summary of our class on Wednesday, and then we'll roll into a guided practice for this week. So on Wednesday, we started to explore one of the central insights of mindfulness practice, which is that emotions, they aren't necessarily a problem. It's our relationship to them that can be. Before the mind begins creating stories, emotions are simply just experiences that are moving through the system or moving through the body. What mindfulness does is it helps us notice them with curiosity rather than immediately reacting to them, which is most of the time what we do. Now, from a Buddhist psychology view, this is also the beginning of an understanding of this idea around the concept of suffering. We cause suffering for ourselves and the ways that we do that. Um, Again, revisiting the idea of two arrows, suffering isn't simply, um, you know, uh, a painful situation or difficult emotions, but more so, it comes from being attached to the emotions rather than learning what we can from them, learning what there is to learn, and then letting them move through to a greater degree anyway. Pain is a natural part of being human. Suffering often arises when we resist what we're feeling or cling to what we want or become caught in the stories that our mind creates. With mindfulness, we begin to change how we relate to them, and that can really reduce unnecessary suffering. So we focused primarily on the more challenging emotions, if you will, this last week. Because our brain naturally pays more attention to what feels threatening or what feels uncomfortable. This tendency is known as the negativity bias. And again, we touched on that at the end of the session. We're going to explore that more deeply this coming week. But understanding this bias will help us explain why stress and anxiety, frustration, fear, disappointment, these negative feelings that we have, why they so easily capture our attention. We also looked at three common habits that create suffering. Um, Wanting life to be different than it is, that is identified as craving. We'll just call it craving. Pushing away the things that we don't want or like, that's aversion. And losing awareness by becoming distracted or operating on autopilot, that is confusion, or what we could refer to as, at least in Buddhist psychology, refer to it as ignorance or the not knowing. So the antidote isn't to eliminate these habits, but instead it's becoming aware of them in a new and in a different way. Awareness awareness that we're developing starts to interrupt our automatic reactions and create space for um, wiser choices or for wisdom to present itself. We explored the metaphor of catching the ember before it becomes a wildfire. Emotions often begin as a subtle body experience or sensation. And a lot of them, for many of us, we just ignore. We don't pay that much attention to, especially in our busy lives. But some of those sensations could be like a tight jaw, a sinking feeling in our stomach, tensions in our shoulders, like wearing our shoulders like earrings. But the earlier we notice them, the easier they are to work with. Because the body often communicates to us before the thinking mind does, we can practice asking, what's happening in my body right now? Rather than the patterns of attaching or clinging or averting, which we talked about before, rather than doing one of those patterns, which is moving us away from the emotions and the feelings or um, an unhealthy attachment to them. We also introduced the window of tolerance, learning that stress and anxiety, overwhelm, emotional reactivity or shutdown often reflect a nervous system that has moved outside of its optimal range, or what we refer to as your baseline. So, mindfulness, these practices, it's not about staying calm all the time. It's about recognizing when we've been pulled away from our center and gently finding our way back. And that takes some practice and some training and some consistency. And that's what we're starting to do. Every time we do this, we're strengthening our resilience. We did this last Wednesday, we did a guided meditation practice that offered a simple way to meet difficult emotions with more kindness, um, and compassion. So that practice was recognizing or having an experience in life that's a little bit more difficult and just recognizing what happens somatically in that. And then allowing the experience to be present and really just being with that rather than running away from it or having a reaction to it. Investigating, having some curiosity, especially with the body experiences, somatic experiences. And then lastly, how can we nurture ourselves, or how can we offer that internal experience the compassion or the thing that it wants? It was an exploration, basically, of a different way of relating to difficult emotions rather than acting them out or suppressing them or distracting ourselves or becoming lost in our stories. The practice invites us to stay present with our experience long enough for wisdom to actually emerge, a different kind of knowing or a different kind of understanding. Many of our emotional reactions are like the paper tiger. Our nervous system responds as though we're in danger, even when the threat exists just in our thoughts. These practices help us create more space to pause, to look more closely, and be able to respond with greater clarity. But next week, we're going to continue the journey by exploring why the mind naturally gives more attention to what's wrong than what's right, negativity bias. We'll look more deeply at this idea and begin cultivating more, I'm going to refer to them as uplifting qualities, loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy. We talked about that a little bit at the end of last week. And then a broader view of, or a broader experience of equanimity. So I would say at the heart of this last week's teachings is this: we're not trying to eliminate difficult emotions. What we're doing is developing the capacity to meet all of our experience with more awareness, more kindness, and kind of ultimately more wisdom. As we do this, we gradually reduce the unnecessary suffering and discover that we can find our way back to ourselves, back home, we'll call it, and that we can just keep doing this over and over again. And that is a big part of the practice. Okay, I think that is about it for our summary of this last Wednesday. And so let's get rolling with our guided meditation for this week. So let's go ahead and begin this by finding a comfortable position for yourself. I'm actually going to go ahead and turn my video off, um, but finding a comfortable posture position. Allow your body to settle in a way that is both relaxed and awake. You can always, uh, find a position that's comfortable for you, even if you had to lie down because you're experiencing pain or something like that. But generally speaking, we want to try to have a position that feels pretty awake. And if it feels comfortable, gently close your eyes. If that doesn't feel comfortable, you can soften your gaze. And take a nice deep breath in and a slow, unhurried breath out. Again, full breath in, filling the lungs, expanding the chest, and a slow, gentle exhale. And then just letting your breath return to its own natural rhythm. Just letting yourself notice or feel your body breathing, giving yourself a chance to arrive in this space. And as you rest here in this new space, take a slow scan through your life, looking for a situation that's been difficult lately. There'll be a relationship, a conversation at work, something else at the office, or perhaps a way you've been relating to yourself. Maybe notice if there's a place where you've been judging yourself or being hard on yourself, as if you've fallen short, or I don't know. There's another familiar story of an I'm not enough, I should be different, whatever it is. Just simply recognizing that. And then from there, just gently acknowledging what is alive in this moment as you think about that situation or that internal feeling that you've had. Just acknowledging it. It's alive in this moment to the degree that it is without pushing it away or trying to avert it. Also, not trying to fix it. Noticing your body and noticing what happens physically when this story is here. It could be really subtle, it could be really strong. Maybe your throat tightens, or your chest feels heavy or something. Maybe your shoulders lift. Just noticing. Rather than resisting these sensations, see if you can make a little more room for them. You can also use your breath, your inhale. Allow your inhale to breathe that into that area and see if you can soften. Use your breath to soften the area around them. Not trying to make them disappear or get rid of them, but just softening. Just allowing that part or that feeling to be held in this awareness of it. And you could, even if you would like, make contact with that part with one of your hands. One could put a hand gently over the heart or wherever the area is and just offer comfort to yourself with that hand. You can also just do this in your mind, visualize it. Either way, letting your own touch remind your nervous system that you're here, reminding your nervous system that I am safe enough to stay present here. Then, in a gentle way, just starting to bring a little more curiosity or, uh, investigation, maybe. So, noticing the experience that you're having, the body experience you're having, this felt experience. And then just lightly touching on the story that you're telling. And it's like, what am I believing right now? Is there a familiar story underneath this experience? Again, sometimes we avert away from these difficult feelings, or we get a hold of them so tightly that it's hard to see underneath the experience. So just noticing, is there a story underneath? Could be many things. Maybe it's I have to be perfect, or I'm some version of I'm not lovable, or I always disappoint people or myself. Whatever it is, whatever arises, see if you can meet it with curiosity rather than judging. And then ask another gentle question. What does this part of me most need right now? Not so much what it should need or what you think it needs, but what does it truly want to or long for? Is it to be seen, to be understood, to feel safe or not alone, to be forgiven? So just listen here. Nothing to figure out. You're just receiving. And now just begin, if you haven't already, offering yourself whatever it is that it's needed. Maybe it's through your hand if you're making contact. Perhaps it's through gentle words that you said out loud or you say to yourself. Whatever those words are, it's okay. I'm here with you. I'm sorry you're hurting. You're not alone. Allowing these words to land the way the teacher once mine once said, let these words land the way rain nourishes dry earth. And you may not have words. You may just have an image. You might imagine offering it warmth or light or space, or maybe the same quality of quiet presence that somebody that you love offers you. Each time, each moment you offer yourself kindness in these ways. You begin to soften the older habits of being at war with ourself, with yourself, or with these parts. Each time you offer yourself kindness in this way, you're strengthening new neural pathways. You're strengthening pathways to more compassion and safety and belonging. And just notice how that feels and just allow everything else to just rest. Notice the awareness, like the blue sky, that is just holding all of it. Noticing that spaciousness that is always there. It's always there, and it always has been. Just resting for a few moments in that openness or that spaciousness. Just ask yourself as we're moving towards wrapping up here, just ask yourself, what is one way, or maybe two ways, but what's one way that I can bring this same quality of kindness with you into the rest of your day? And one more final breath in and a slow breath out, letting your body move a little bit, fingers, toes, however you need to, feeling the support beneath you again. And when you're ready, coming on back, allowing your eyes to open. I'm going to come back on screen these last few moments here. So, again, that question is how can I bring some of that same quality of kindness How can you bring that into the rest of your day? Okay. That is it for the practice. Have fun with that this week. I remember that everybody's been finding their way into the amount of time that the practices take and what works for you. So I think that's great. Maybe you can do this practice once or twice and then continue doing your shorter practices. Um, all right. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you on Wednesday. Okay.